All I want any recruiter to know is that I'm so much more than just my resume.
Lol. Come on. We both know that all these recruitment platforms are only designed for the companies to get what they want.
They don't care about candidates like us. Not all, buddy. Have you heard of TAG?
Karan Roy, data scientist. Tag score 96%. Interesting.
That's me. And thanks to TAG, now she knows all about my functional, behavioral, technical, and all other relevant skills. Tagged indeed is a game changer for me. When I signed up for it, it created this structured, validated, and enriched profile mapped across my numerous skills, knowledge base, and work experience, and created a score. My tagged score. The score and profiling help me present my best professional version to any employer. They can easily find what they need, and if I'm the right fit, my profile shows up instantly. This way, TAG not only helps candidates like me land their dream jobs, but also figure out where they stand amongst their peers, and also identify the areas they need to work on.
Wow, this is just the kind of candidate I need. I like how detailed his profile is. Should I even interview this guy?
See? This is how TAG is bringing clarity, communication, and dignity back for us candidates. It also gives me an access to a community of peers, career circles, thousands of jobs, and marquee employers like her to further aid my career growth. Are you kidding me? Did you just get hired within minutes?
Good afternoon and welcome friends to our new episode of Career Circle Live. Every time I watch this video that was displayed a prior minute ago, I always feel as to why this wasn't there when we started our career. I'm glad that this is now available for all of us to leverage and move forward. With that, as we promise every time, I think we're back again with a very insightful conversation of Career Circle Live. And we have our esteemed industry experts available with us. Before we do that, I just want to let you know the topic for today's discussion is exploring new opportunities within hospitality and timeshare industry, especially with Club Mahindra and Resorts as a company. With that, for all the aspirants who are joining us for the first time, I also want to give you a brief context as to why we are here and what you can expect in the entire session as we move forward. This is about 45 minutes closed room discussion. As I say, in saying that, it's a dialogue that will happen between two parties, between me as a moderator, I am Vishal Bharatwaj, and our esteemed panelists that we currently have. I will quickly introduce them as well. This session is a live session, Career Circle live session with LinkedIn, powered by TAG. The purpose of this session is to bring the industry experts onto the forum with the aspirants on the ground and give them a forum to ask questions and dialogue that can possibly help all the aspirants to excel in their career. With that, I'm going to take this pleasure to welcome our esteemed panelists and the guest, Mr. Bharat S. and Mr. Yatish Kulkarni. Thank you, Bharat, and thank you, Yatish. Before I pass on to you, team, so Bharat is the Chief of Customer Acquisition with Club Mahindra and Resorts Holidays, and Yatish is the General Manager, Human Resource, working with the same organization. Bharat and Yatish, thank you so much for joining us today and taking out time. I would request if you can briefly introduce yourself and also give a brief overview about what is this Club Mahindra and Resorts company all about. You're on mute, Bharat.
Good afternoon. I'm Bharat S. Or Bharat Sundareshan, and very happy to be here today. And thank you, Vishal, for the opportunity. As you can see from my genuine gray hair, okay, I've been working more than 29 years. Okay, so and I've been largely a sales and distribution professional, and I'm very happy currently to be the Chief Customer Acquisition Officer of Mahindra Holidays and Resorts India Limited. MHRIL, and we'll talk more about our company during the session, but we are in the leisure hospitality business, and we are the largest vacation ownership or timeshare company in India. So I think that's our brief introduction. And of course, we are very proud to be part of the Mahindra Group and benefit immensely from the proud heritage of the Mahindra Group. So that's a brief introduction about me and the company. Yatish.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Yatish. I work with this organization and assist the business that Bharat drives as a general manager EHR. We spread across the country, obviously have international offices, like Bharat, taking from what Bharat was saying, that we are largest vacation ownership organization in the country, and we also have an international presence for the similar offices. We'll keep talking about Club Mahindra as and when the opportunity comes.
Thank you, Bharat, and thank you, Yatish. I'm sure, as we know, we've been grown up, but while hearing Mahindra as a brand, right? All the aspirants who are there on the ground, they would love to know more about Club Mahindra and Resorts, and we will have a lot of questions beneath and beyond that. But as they say, I think visual memories are the most permanent ones. Why don't we have a quick sneak peek on a small video of Club Mahindra Resorts? Team at the backstage, can I request you to display that?
Holidays are fun, the best days under the sun. We can paint, we can sketch, we can splash, we can catch, we can dive, we can score, we can ball, we can bat, we can explore. Holidays are fun, the best days under the sun. We can hike, we can bike, we can shake, we can trail, we can make, we can bake, we can fly, we can soar, we can draw. Holidays are fun, the best days under the sun, the best days under the sun. Club Mahindra, happy holidays, happy kids.
Wonderful. I don't know, Bharat and Yatish, if you know, I'm also one of your customer as the end customers. I can tell you exactly, I felt the same, while watching the video. I think the same experience. I usually take once, one vacation in a year, and I feel exactly the same what you demonstrated in the entire video there. Thank you for that. So with this, Bharat and Yatish, I also want to give you a context as to what our audience and all the aspirants would want to know in the entire session. And it will be broken into three parts. First, I think, I will possibly want a lot of thoughts on the landscape and this industry all about. That's one segment. The other segment, the aspirant would also want to know what are the opportunities available right now, within the organization, across functions. So if you can elaborate, obviously I will ask questions. And, there would be some of the questions, some of the information about the rounds of interviews, what get evaluated in that segment. That's another part. And then we'll jump on with the people, culture, and the practices. I think in that, the idea is to pass on as much information to our aspirants so that next time when you see them, they are well prepared for the interview and they crack it, as we move forward. With this, I'm going to start with our first part, which is about the industry and the landscape. So Bharat, you said you've been here for about almost 29 years in the same industry. And I think you are spearheading the acquisition function for this entire organization. As one of the participants of the entire audience, I would really like to know as to how this industry has changed in the last about 2-3 years of time, hospitality and timeshare, and what's stored in the future for next 2-3 years from here.
So I think the first word that comes to mind when I look at our leisure hospitality industry or the vacation ownership industry that we operate in is clearly the opportunity. Okay, so if as an employee or as a future employee, prospective employee, I'm looking to join the company, I think the first and foremost question in my mind is that, hey, listen, am I in an industry that is growing? Okay, and the second question is, am I in a company that is growing? And third, is it a company that will allow me to grow? Okay, and will it groom me to grow? So possibly, I think I would want to answer this as structured into three. So from an opportunity perspective, I think we are extremely bullish about the fact that if you look at a vacation ownership, the industry or the landscape, okay, from a consumer segment perspective, okay, we're expecting India to have more than 3 crore high income households by FY30. Okay, and this is really the TG which largely enrolls into a vacation ownership. Okay. Okay, so I think first, I'm saying from a sheer income and target segment perspective, I think the opportunity is immense. Okay, we also have most demographics and most statistics will tell you that we also have around 55 lakh crores of annual consumption that is available. Okay, so you have high income households and who are consuming a lot. Okay, and the third piece is this an over penetrated market or an under penetrated market? So the currently, if you look at the penetration of this segment, it's like 2%. Okay, on a vacation ownership. If you look at US, which has been one of the pioneers with the vacation ownership, the penetration is around 11%. Okay, so even if you look at it from a penetration perspective, the opportunity is huge. Okay, so huge growing target population. Okay, largely an underserved population. Okay, so if you look at the opportunity, I think it's great. To come back to what you were asking about, saying how has the landscape changed? Okay, I think so clearly there is a pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID era. Okay, and what we are definitely finding, okay, in the post-COVID era is that there seems to be this absolute renewed surge to travel. Okay, so it's almost people wanting to travel and catch up for all the lost time during the COVID and the quarantine, etc. Okay, so I think, and you can make this out with just see how if you travel by flight, just see how the airports are buzzing. If you go to the railway stations or if you go to any of the tourist hubs, okay, it's an absolute hub. So even if you look at our own first quarter results, which are available in the public domain, we had like an occupancy of 90%. Okay, so it's an absolutely buzzing industry. It's an absolutely buzzing time. And you might have even read from our press articles that even as a company, we are now looking to almost double our inventory till FY30. Okay, so and when I'm talking about inventory, it's about the number of rooms or number of keys available for our members. Okay, so I think in short, great industry right now, great industry, great economic climate. Okay, and a company that's clearly poised to capitalize on that growth.
Wonderful. I think it's good to know that. You rightly mentioned, I think those are the time when people are questioning what will grow and what not will grow post-COVID. But I've seen the industry growing at least multi-fold in the last about 2 years of time. Just, we had a ramp down about 3 years back. That too, I think hospitality and timeshare have not seen the punt as much as other industries we have seen. People were still traveling, here and there. But I think other industries, we have seen more impact on that segment. Thank you, Bharat. And moving on to my next segment, Bharat and Yatish, it's about the job. Now, I'm sure there are about 500 plus aspirants who are currently logged in. There would be more who would be joining in. You never know, some of them would apply for the opportunity inside, and you may see them in next about few days of time. If you can also help us understand what are the opportunities available right now, in the organization across functions, I think that will give us some insight to our people and they can start preparing for those opportunities at the back.
So I think, and some part of it I'll answer, and then I'll also ask Yatish to answer some of it. I think, see, obviously we are a company currently growing well and also looking at tapping new segments. So I think if you look at two different segments, okay, so one, of course, we have a large sales team. Okay, so we have constantly a lot of openings as we expand, okay, in our sales team. Okay, so this could be either functioning as a relationship manager or as a supervisor of these relationship managers. We also run a very large acquisition marketing set, okay, which these are people who kind of create opportunities for our salespeople, target the right profiles of customers, to help them pitch our proposition, etc. So again, if your interests are managing a setup of telecallers or doing a telecalling yourself, okay, that again, there are huge opportunities around, and this is really from a sales perspective. And of course, if you're looking at channel management, there are opportunities in the channel management. There are opportunities as relationship manager, even in our international business, okay, which is basically in Dubai or in Qatar. Okay, so we have opportunities there as well as we speak. Okay, Additionally, we have the entire resort side of the business, okay, which is classical hospitality. So we'll have lots of positions in terms of managing those resorts and being the front office staff there, okay, and even at the back end. I think we keep looking for even people who are good in the kitchen and so on and so forth. So if you look at from a job availability perspective currently, okay, I think there is a very wide spectrum of jobs available, and I'll hand over to Yatish to maybe add some more points on this. Yatish.
So thank you, Bharat. Yes, like taking the same thing ahead. So I have a structure which talks about the whole sales frontline and sales supervisory structure, which obviously rolls up into Bharat. And there I'll have opportunities where somebody could really come up, do things differently, meet customers every day. So I have profiles wherein people who are interested in meeting customers every day, to talk to them, understand, and help them have better vacations in India and abroad, obviously. That's the first set of opportunities that I always have. I have an acquisition marketing team which talks about talking to customers and understanding their interest, taking their interest further to the meetings, course of action, and similar supervisory structure there. So that's largely my sales and acquisition marketing. Similarly, I will obviously have roles at corporate which are basically dealing with all such support functions and support structures of the sales hierarchy. So we also have various sales acquisition channels. So to lead those channels, to support those channels at corporate is where one other set of opportunities that will be available. And like Bharat also mentioned, we have resorts. We are the organization which kept on adding resorts even in COVID, after COVID. And so, like Bharat mentioned, we are going to be doubling our inventories there. So I have front office, we have kitchen, we have other facility management there. All such positions will always keep coming because we are at a very different place. One of the things that we add in both the sides of our businesses is that we're not somebody who really wants that the communication methodology has to be right, not the language is a barrier, because we are present and we are so diversely available in the country like India. It definitely helps us to attract talent in different markets, different segments. We are also present in a lot of rural markets where the opportunities are less. So the talent acquisition there is also another great opportunity for us. Back to you. Over to you, Usha.
Thank you, Yatish, and thank you, Bharat. I think it's great to know that as an organization, we give weightage to regional nuances and accommodate that part. Not many organizations give that much of leverage across. Many times what we've heard with some of the brands, they try and force fit one shoe to all, which usually doesn't work with the diverse nation that we currently are in. Before I move to next question, I have a small story, and I'm sure people at the backstage they can relate that. And I will ask my question after that, Bharat, and you get to know exactly what I mean to say. In my early stage of life, my first interview experience, I can tell you that my first interview as a collection executive, I was one of the leading BPO organization. I was one of the collection executive in that company. So my interview started about 7 o'clock in the morning, and after about 6, 7, 8 rounds of interviews, it was about 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, right? And I was super frustrated that time. I asked the recruiter who actually lined up for the interview, and I was frustrated. So that's the sarcasm that came out. I asked, am I being interviewed for a CEO role in the organization? The recruiter was, I think the recruiter was much more frustrated than me, or possibly smarter than me. The recruiter said, not for CEO, it's actually for the Prime Minister of India. And she smiled and went over. So I think that's the feeling that I got, as a candidate in that process, because of two parts. First, it was extremely lengthy. The second, there was no clarity about why those 7, 8 rounds are happening and what are being evaluated in those rounds. So as a candidate, Bharat and Yatish, my next question to you is that in the evaluation process, obviously different function will have a different evaluation process, but how many usual rounds are there? So for example, 2, 3 rounds, and what gets evaluated in what round? Is that something standardized with Club Mahindra and Resort Organization? Over to you, Bharat.
Yeah, I'll take that question. And Vishal, I think yes, it's an interesting point of view because we know that there have been various tools and mechanisms that we've developed to ensure that the recruitment process is effective for the candidate as well as for the organization. So we usually it's a combination, Vishal. So we definitely look for somebody who's willing to spend times in different time at different days. So it's not a very stagnant work timing that, or a very relatable work timing like a normal 9 to 5 assignment. So that's one aspect that get evaluated. To begin with, Vishal, at my roles in branches, which I talk about as the customer acquisition roles, which is sales and acquisition marketing, which is my usual hiring every day, is where you will see that we also understand, first of all, whether the individual is somebody who's done some similar kind of roles and has certain potential understanding of product sales or a concept sales. Both sides are open to us. At the same time, we look at also certain things that we believe are the values that an individual should have. We call them seva values. So for me, the seva values are can do, will do kind of an attitude. Somebody would literally show up every day. So someone has to really come up and keep being there available for us as an organization. So that's one aspect. We talk about respect for all as a values under seva values for us. We're talking about creative relentless creativity, because the individual has to really think about talking to the customer in different manners and convince the individual in different ways, because the need at every life stage will be different. So these are certain behaviors that we try to evaluate under seva values. And in the subsequent rounds at leaders when the leaders interact with the candidate, they're more evaluating the individual at the attitude and the persona level. One of the point that comes at the interview stage is the aptitude test. So we do an aptitude test also for every individual that gets evaluated in the branches as rules.
See, Vishal, to add, there is a lot of time and effort that organizations spend, and I think the individual also spend when they're trying to get into a new job. Okay, so I think the idea of the 2 or 3 rounds that we have is to at least ensure at the interview stage that there is an absolute meeting of minds, and there is no expectation mismatch. Okay, so we are quite transparent about what is required to succeed in the job. Okay, and of course the evaluations around functional technical competencies, and like Yatish rightly said, also the value system, okay, which needs to resonate with our value system. What we try and do is also that during the course of the person's employment, okay, if you see, most of the training and development that we do for this person is also based around these frameworks only. Okay, so we have a competency grid, and then we of course there would be gaps that people have, okay, and we try and fill that up through a training and development. And even in our annual appraisal cycles, for instance, there is definite weightage to the seva values. Okay, so there's a consistency from that perspective, because what we would like is that whoever comes in to us, okay, spends a long and successful career with us. Okay, and you'll be amazed to know that we're around 27 years old as a company. Okay, and there are lots of people who have been with us right from inception. Okay, so at least that's the approach we'd like to take. And from a sales perspective, okay, we would like as many of the supervisory positions to be filled up from people who grow from the front line. Okay, nothing better than that. If I can grow most of my talent from within, and even in my sales structure today, you'll find lots of leaders. Okay, people who are doing zonal roles and head of zones and very heading large businesses have actually grown up through the ranks. So I think that is really our approach. Yeah. So.
Thank you, Bharat, and thank you, Yatish. I'm going to touch this topic again after my next question, Bharat. You raise a very interesting point. My next question is on the same line. Bharat, Yatish, you said that I think in all the rounds we look at something which exactly matches the kind of requirement that currently are there. For people on the ground, people who are listening to that, are we only looking at talent who are working in the hospitality and timeshare, or we are open to other industries too if they have the right attitude?
Oh, not at all. We are not fussed about the industry at all. Okay, so today in my sales team, I have people from hospitality, I have people from EdTech, I have people from insurance, from BFSI. So it is an absolutely varied group of people. Okay, so absolutely no issues on what the background is. In fact, we've also had some success in grooming some freshers who've had no sales experience. Okay, so we run a sales trainee program, and there are people who start from the scratch, and we even train them on sales, etc. So absolutely not. So So if I'm looking for a sales role, I'm really looking for interest, aptitude, okay, and like I said, the competency to do sales. But the background industry, absolutely not a qualification or a disqualification.
Correct. So good to hear. Thank you so much. So, Bharat, as we say, our Gen Z, which are millennials, we have seen that, our newer generation is extremely impatient. I think the way we've been bred, in all our life, that growth comes momentarily once you spend time and, the tasks become monotonous, you become expert in doing that. But I think our millennials do not follow the same fundamentals what we had. I think today the choice comes given the money somebody's making and the growth prospects. People choose for growth prospects over money in the current situation. My next question on the same lines, as you said, Bharat, I think there are success stories in the organization. People stayed back for a long period of time. They've grown significantly. What is this career progression process in the company? So, for example, if I join, Mahindra Holidays as a candidate, how this career progression happens in the company? Are there any evaluation process at stages, or there are minimum qualifiers attached to that?
So let's say I'm saying, suppose you join us as a relationship manager, okay, where your fundamental job is to go meet prospective clients, okay, or meet existing customers, service them well, get references, and sell. So essentially, a sales role, right? We have a program called ACE, okay, initially. So what ACE helps you do is, if you overachieve on periodic targets, what it allows you to do is continue in the same role but grow your remuneration. Yeah. Okay. So you keep moving up grades, but you fundamentally continue to do an individual contributor's role. Okay. So that's a program called ACE. Okay. And it's quite flexible in terms of it recognizes performance more than time. Okay, there's obviously a time element, but if you're an extraordinary performer, this is time is not a deterrent for you. Then we run something called an iGrow. Okay, now iGrow as a program is something that allows you to move from an individual contributor role to a managerial role. Okay, and of course, as you get into, so every time you move up, whether it's in the ACE program or the iGrow program, we also give you a customized training. Okay, and then groom you and mentor you and monitor you for 6 months in your new role, so that we've kind of enabled you for success in the new role. Okay, so I'm saying if you start and ditto if you start the journey as a telemarketer. So there are opportunities to grow from individual contributor roles. So there are people, for instance, and there are people in my team who are happy to do individual contributor roles forever. Okay, because they're happy with the incentives they earn and so on and so forth. So is there a career path for them? Absolutely. Okay. Is there a career path for people who would like to become a team manager? Okay, and manage a team of people? Absolutely. Okay, so everywhere I think there are multiple options. You want to continue on the same path, you want to become a manager and then keep growing and so on and so forth. Absolutely. So, and these are all predefined, transparent programs. Okay, so when you enter, okay, we'll share with you the criteria. Okay, and if you hit the criteria, okay, you qualify, and then we'll do a brief assessment. Okay, and eureka, you've reached the next level. Okay, so we have quite a structured program for that. Yeah, and of course, those who are not on these programs, and this is largely for individual contributors and frontline, etc. Then, of course, there's an appraisal cycle. Okay, like most companies, we have an appraisal cycle based on we have KRAs and KPIs, which are down to the last person, and then your measurement is against that KPI, and based on that, you will grow up from a career perspective as well. Okay, so I'm saying whether you if you start as a frontline person, then you have these structured programs. If you come in laterally as a manager anyway, then you have different programs. Yeah, so there's an opportunity for everyone.
Sure. So, Bharat, what we have seen is many times, the industry that we possibly want to get into, and once we join that industry and role, our aspiration changes over a period of time. We get aspired to a different function, different role altogether. So as you mentioned, there are a lot of opportunities, which is vertical elevation, that normally happen in the process.
Sure.
Are there opportunities for a horizontal progression also? Let's say from a sales function to something like a finance function. If people are aspired to do that, does that possible?
So, in fact, I have some examples where two of my zonal heads, okay, are actually people who started from a acquisition marketing career. Okay, so they were essentially marketing resources who then moved to sales. Okay, so there are examples like that. Okay, we do encourage movement and so on and so forth. Of course, I'm saying if I'm moving from a technical function to another technical function, then of course, as long as the technical competence is there, absolutely. So there are examples like that, and we are, absolutely fine. So, like most, structured large organizations, we also have an internal job posting that happens. Okay, which is open for everyone, and you could apply for a role. Okay, we've actually had people from our membership services team, which is essentially like customer service, move to sales. Okay, we've recently had a telemarketer who was in sales for most of her career deciding to move to our collections team. Okay, so so we have lots of examples like this, and we would actively encourage it. Okay, so and supervisors are really encouraged to kind of look at the individual's need. Okay, because so in an IGP, so we would sit through and we would kind of make sure it's the best for the employee more than otherwise sometimes there's a tendency not to let go. Okay, so but we have a lot of success of some very good people who move to other functions or other, like I gave you some examples. So so we have lots of these examples.
2 points to add into what Bharat mentioned, Vishal. One is these programs are also replicated in the resort side of the business. So iGrow is also possible in resorts, and there also people move from a kitchen to a front office, or a front office to a housekeeping, and so on and so forth. So that iGrow is very much there as well. So that program is extended. So it's an organization-wide program. So the nomenclature is not really very different. At the same time, on the IGP front of it, it's rolled out to the entire organization. And since it's a group, it's a company that's present pan India, there are also opportunities for people to move around the country if they have some movement requirements on personal front or something. That also is very much possible. So as an organization, since I'm scaled up nationally, I also been able to provide opportunities in that scale.
Wonderful. Thank you, Yatish. Thank you, Bharat. My next question, Bharat and Yatish, is a forward to this. As we know that, Club Mahindra, just like it's extremely diverse, different functions spread across pan India. What we also believe, it becomes very difficult to keep employees engaged once you become large and dispersed across pan India. I'm sure people on the ground who are listening to this session, they would like to know what are the engagement programs in the company, and how do we recognize and reward people on the ground who's possibly not at the corporate office, they're sitting at some remote branches here and there. So what all those practices, I think I would love to hear that, Bharat and Yatish, from.
I'll take this, Vishal. I think it's a very interesting question, first of all, Vishal. Like we mentioned, we have branch and we have resorts. So we also have the similar HR structure in both the sides. So I have a branch HR, and I will also have resort HRs working across these places. We generally have a calendarized engagement things that generally keep happening. So there are festivities, and in non-festivities months, there are themes that are decided, and similarly the connect activities happen, wherein the actual fun at work happens. Apart from that, there are engagement activities which are more to do with learning and their own career growth discussions and similar activities on the floor that happens. We also connect to employees in understanding what is really going on with them in terms of their aspiration to stay with us. There are connect programs on that front. We also do programs like Man Ki Baat, in which there is a skip level connect that happens, which then employees can express if they are something that they don't want to talk to the manager, but they are open to share to the skip level manager. So Man Ki Baat is a very popular thing that we do. Apart from that, as a group, Mahindra follows employee. So generally, the ESOP as a term is related to stocks. Here we call it Mahindra social options, in which employees are encouraged to participate in social causes, beach cleanup drives, tree plantations, visiting orphanages and old age homes. And there are contributions where employees participate voluntarily. Most of these activities are once in a month, wherein actually there is a budget assigned to that particular activity, so the branch team can literally contribute to a very good size and scale on the contribution. So these are a few things that run every month. We get a lot of photographs and things that happen at branches, remotest of the corners of the resorts as well.
And to add, what we also we're great believers in Kaizen. Okay, so there is a lot of there's a lot of effort on self improvement and improvement in ideas, etc. So I mean, I would call it a great engaged workforce, because we have lots of great ideas that come from our workforce on improvements and what we can do better, etc. And that helps us a lot in terms of improving a lot of our processes as well. So there's a huge culture around improvement and Kaizen, as the case might be. Of course, R&R is almost a monthly affair. Okay, so it's very common in sales, but you will also see this across functions. Okay, so it's a regular recognition of people down the line and so on and so forth. Okay, so yeah, so overall I think there is a lot of lots of meaningful engagement, okay, that happens across as levels, whether it be social causes like Yatish mentioned, or about improvement, or about normal R&R. So that's a big part of our culture.
Thank you so much, Bharat and Yatish. I'm going to jump on to the next segment, which almost every organization now, have taken a steep target of diversity and inclusion. I think that's one of the need that every corporate member is talking about. I would love to hear some of the practices that we currently have with Club Mahindra, Bharat and Yatish, on this segment, because a lot of members are from that community itself who are joining in and listening to our conversation. Over to you, Yatish and Bharat.
So, diversity and inclusion obviously is also at a company-wide agenda that we also have. As you rightly mentioned, it's a thing that everybody in the country is talking, everybody in the corporate is talking. I may name few very interesting initiatives that we had taken. We started a program called iLeap, in which we asked women to come back from their breaks and start joining us. So in North, I have actually a team completely from the iLeap batch, which joined and is working in my sales team and the branch. And secondly, we also have programs which basically will let a lot of women. We call it career intentionality session. This basically let the industry experts speak to women who are wanting to come back to corporate careers and have had long breaks and all. So we invite them to our office, do this career intentionality session, in which we brief them about the kind of opportunities we have, the kind of offices we have, kind of work flexibilities that might come to them, and so on and so forth. So that precisely are also few things that we do on DNI. As an organization, just to quote some numbers, Vishal, on my acquisition marketing, which is my marketing team in branches and all, I'm at about 38% women employees working with me. In my branches, that percentage is about 26, 28%. Corporate, again, I'm at about 35% employment is done through women. So that's how I, as an organization at MHRL, is placed on the DI paradigm.
Yeah, and the number speaks for itself. For a sales-driven organization, the number is quite high, to be honest. And I'm sure people on the ground, they can acknowledge that part. Bharat and Ritish, on this line, I also want to take some tips for our people, for our candidates on the ground. Are there any tips or tricks that you can tell our people that must and do not do in an interview? So, for example, if you see somebody there tomorrow, right? What are the things that you would want somebody to demonstrate in that entire process, and what's something you do not want to demonstrate as an individual? That's something people can take, and obviously they plan for the role, but they will keep that in mind while appearing for the interview.
Yeah. So since we are a customer oriented organization, one of the point that I always think a candidate should be, or it's a must on another thing, is to be in a formal attire when they come to an interview, and because that also kind of showcases that the candidate is very interested, is very poised for the role that he or she is looking forward to. So that particular thing that I really always look forward to, that a candidate is formally dressed. And obviously, we are not trying to digress from a thing what is formal for me, what is formal for the world. We're talking about a simple corporate formal attire definitions that are worldwide acknowledged and practiced. So that's one thing that is a must. Secondly, obviously, the candidate should be able to elaborate, talk about the kind of experiences that he or she had in the previous organizations, be able to quote the right credentials, and also give, if asked, give examples that are really look forward to being credible in their own senses. These are few musts that I look forward to.
And so grooming I think is very very important. Okay, and I said I think not only from a hospitality perspective, but any interview, I think you need to take care that you are very presentable. I think that's very clear. Okay, the second thing I think is really understand very well what job you're interviewing for, and even if it's like an open-ended question saying tell me more about yourself. Okay, I think you should spend a little bit of time uh, articulating what is not exactly there on your CV. Okay, because usually the interviewer has the CV in front of you, and what
Yeah.
I normally look forward to understanding is really what's more. How do I understand the person better? How do I understand what makes the uh, person successful? Or okay, so I think so if you can bring that nuances into your answers, what it does is it engages the interviewer to then set up a conversation with you. Okay, so I think some part, if people can do that, I think that's lovely, because and that gives you as a candidate more opportunities to talk about your strengths. Okay, so I think that is what I would say, Vishal. So
Wonderful. I'm sure people at the ground, they have made notes to all that, and they will follow exactly the tips that you've just stated, Yatish and Bharat. My next question, and I've seen that some of our audience members have also asked this question. So Bharat and Yatish, I think we have seen a digital transformation happening in last about 1 year. With this AI intervention coming, Chat GPT, BAL, all this coming, a world will now again change. Uh, I think someone asked this question: How is Club Mahindra Holidays enabling employees to come over this technology intervention, technology transformation? So, what are the training programs on technology that is happening inside the organization that can further improve the efficiency of people within Club Mahindra, and some of the technical intervention that are in place that that's Club Mahindra is leveraging and changing that on the ground?
So I'll give you two or three ways we're doing it. Okay, first of all, I think over the years, one of the things that's changed is that um, majority of my onboarding, okay, which is onboarding a customer now, is done digitally only. Okay, so I think uh, so there is a video call that goes in, and there's a verification that happens so that the customers understood what the product that's happened. So the entire onboarding process is now digital, and that's a big transformation that we've done over the last few years. Okay, so that's one part. The second part, I don't know of very many organizations that actually provide a laptop to their frontline staff. We do. Okay, because what we are encouraging people to do, our sales staff to do, is to engage the customer or the prospect digitally. Okay, see, remember, we are a hospitality company. Okay, so our product is the brilliant resorts we have. Okay, the wonderful experience that you have, and like I think you said right in the beginning as well, nothing quite narrates a story as well as a visual. Okay, so I think that's the big encouragement. In fact, right now we are piloting something very interesting. Okay, where we are actually doing our entire sales. Okay, from the appointment generation, from the prospecting, etc., totally virtually. Okay, totally through a video tool that we have developed. Okay, and interestingly, okay, while classical pundits will always tell you that this is face to face and you can only you'll have to sit in front of the customer and sell, we're actually getting some very good success. Okay, in terms of actually selling to customers end to end, and I think purely virtually, yeah, on a video call. All right. So, and I think you are seeing this happening in other industries. Okay, and you'll see this happen as we have less and less time. Okay, technology will kind of do this, and there's a huge digital roadmap that we have in terms of engagement of prospects, etc. So we've created a WhatsApp journey now. Okay, for customers. So there's lots and lots of technology that we are implementing, and we are fundamentally looking at this as a tool for enablement, greater success enablement of our sales team. Okay, so I think that's largely what we're doing. Okay, and of course, like most from a customer service perspective, okay, looking at chatbots, looking at, in fact, we have an interesting bot called Mahi. Okay, which we use to capture employee feedback. Okay,
Yeah.
All right. So there's a lot of that interplay that you will see across multiple functions in the organization. So yeah. So there's a big movement towards being more and more digitally enabled. Yeah.
Wonderful. Uh, I can continue asking questions, Bharat and Yatish. I may not end, but I know the time. I'm going to take last question. One of the audience asked this question that what is the frequency of incentive programs and the payout? Is it same for all levels, or does it different? Does it differentiate between levels, level 1 to level 2 and level 3?
So a large part of our incentive is monthly. Okay.
Yeah.
We also have schemes that end quarterly. Okay. And then, of course, we have two prestigious clubs. Okay. One is the CSO club and the MD club. Okay. Which largely is an annual event. So if you ask me, and I'm not just talking incentives, I'm talking incentives, R&R, recognition all together. Okay. So large part is monthly because we recognize that at that stage of your life, you may want the cash flow faster. So large part is monthly, but usually the benefit of doing some longer term, which is quarterly and higher, is that the prizes can be bigger because the targets are bigger and so on and so forth. So, but largely it's monthly, but we also have quarterly and we also have things that end annually, but the lion's share is monthly. Yeah.
Thank you, Bharat. So thank you, Bharat and Yatish. I think I'm going to take a pause now. I'm sure we were able to get you a lot of information that's not available on socials for sure for Club Mahindra and Resort and Holidays. Next time, I'm very sure you will get to feel the tips that you've passed on to people. People will follow and finally appear for the interview. All the members who are listening to this conversation today, thank you for joining in. In case you have questions, more questions, please feel free to write it on the chat window. And please, in case you are interested in the opportunity, please drop in your profiles at careers@tag.in. We'll be happy to come back to you and take your candidature forward. And we look forward to welcome you in Club Mahindra Resort very soon. With that, signing off. Thank you, Yatish. Thank you, Bharat. Look forward to have another session very soon with everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. See you.
Thank you, Rishabh.